So, man, it was all going so well for you. Back-to-back wins for Bosnia. Big win for Bournemouth at the weekend. And then the Pats get it handed to them in Jacksonville on Sunday. What went wrong?
Yeah, no, exactly. Couldn't have it all go my way this weekend, unfortunately. Although my fantasy team did well. But no, I think it was always going to be a difficult game for the Pats. When you look at their schedule, I think the Jags were obviously highly motivated after last year, and was always going to be a very difficult place to go and get a win. So probably not totally surprised that it didn't work out for him, but it's never nice to lose, and I'm sure the Pats will look to bounce back right away.
So listen, we worked together a fair bit. I don't think I've ever asked you this question about the Pats. Were you pre-Brady and Belichick? Or does your Pats fandom coincide with the greatest dynasty in sporting history? Or did you go through the bad old days?
When I got into the NFL, like when I sort of knew about it in my early teenage years, that's when the whole Brady thing, when Brady came on the scene. So I was more of a Brady guy.
Okay.
Came on the scene. There's this Tom Brady, and I'm like, okay, this guy's pretty cool and special. And so I just kind of followed him, and that's how the whole Brady Pats thing. But now even after after Tom says goodbye in a few years, I'm sure I'll still support the Pats.
So you're telling me they're 4-12 in 3 years' time, and you'll still be there?
Hey, absolutely. I'm very loyal to my sports team, so don't worry about that.
It was strange, though, wasn't it, last night? The thing that struck me, and look, we talked about last week being overreaction week in the NFL, and we can't get carried away. The Patriots, I mean, look at what happened at the start of last season. They're notoriously slow starters. But what was strange for me was the lack of hustle towards the end. That, they're so good at the hurry-up offense, moving it and the pace. They didn't seem to have that hunger. I mean, where that was coming from was unclear. But unlike other Patriots teams in this kind of situation, they almost seem to give up. Did you get that as well?
Yeah, well, I think I saw Tom Brady quite agitated on the sidelines a couple of times, and I think he was trying to get the message across to take this seriously. I think, like you said, in the past, the Patriots have been more of a 500 team than in September than a great team. So as the season goes on, they'll get stronger, and I'm sure these sort of things will get ironed out. And I think the trouble for successful teams and franchises, not just in football but in other sports, a little bit of complacency at times. They'll be looking forward to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and when their goal is that high, then I think a week 2 matchup sometimes is a little bit lower on their priority list.
So Miami are obviously going to win the AFC East now. Do you think
I knew you'd come with that.
2-0, unbeaten, perfect. The Patriots might squeak a wild card, though. They still might hang on for the wild card. Do you need? I mean, the receiving core and the lack of strength and depth, that's been a big issue, hasn't it? Is it the time to make a move now? Des Bryant's on the market. Josh Gordon's on the market. I know he's obviously a risk with his off-the-field issues, but would you like to see them making a play for a big-time threat like that, or do you think they've got enough?
Yeah. I mean, as long as these guys want to come in and fit in with the system the Patriots have, then I wouldn't be against any of these boys. I think at the same time, it's very important for them to understand the situation to go into. It's a chance for them to potentially win a Super Bowl, and I think if they can add to the Patriots, then so be it. But generally, I think what's been encouraging a little bit, maybe a little bit less so yesterday, but I think the defense is stronger. The front seven is arguably better than last year, obviously.
Yeah, they're good in week 1.
Yeah, good in week 1 against the Texans. So I think hopefully it's going to put a little bit less pressure on Tom Brady in the offense. Once Edelman comes back, I think they'll have enough weapons. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pats did something in the free agent market, but at the same time, I think they're okay as they are.
Okay, so other than the Dolphins, which AFC team, and the Jags obviously, which AFC team are you most fearful of? Is it Kansas City?
Yeah. I said on my podcast, Season of Sports, check it out. Oh,
the plug is right in there. I was going to pick that up later, but we got it there. Season of Sports.
We did the AFC on our last episode, and I was talking to Russ Goldman from Boston, and we said to him the scariest team for me is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, that offense, I don't know how you defend against them. I don't know how you can keep them in check if they're flowing and if Pat Mahomes is the real deal, which he seems to be after a couple of starts now. For me, it's the Chiefs. I think they could be anything and they could blow anyone away. Defensively,
though, they're a bit suspect still, aren't they? Which
they're a bit suspect now, but if you can put up 40 points every game, and it's genuinely that, you have an unbelievable running back, you have 4 or 5 receiving threats. You can't double team anyone, and if you do, it's at your own risk. So I just think if they stay healthy and they get it together, it'll be offense over anything else.
Okay, so they look dangerous in the AFC. The Jags obviously do. The Dolphins clearly do as well. What about the rest of the NFL? What about in the NFC? Who's looking serious for you so far there?
Well, I think the NFC is stacked as well. I mean, you have so many teams. That NFC South is an incredible division, especially now with the Bucs getting off to such a good start. So I think the NFC is really tough to call. There's a lot of good teams, very, very complete teams. My pick to go very far and go to the Super Bowl is the Falcons. I really love what they're doing. I love their head coach. Steve Sarkisian's there as the second-year offensive coordinator, so I think him and Matt Ryan will be better this year.
It seems to be gelling now because he got a lot of stick, didn't he, Sarkisian? Even in week one, the red zone offense was horrendous, but they seemed to get it going last week or on Sunday.
So I think that's something that works itself out over time. When you have people that caliber. The Rams are looking very, very strong, of course. So, I think the NFC is very, very tough to call. My pick, just slightly edging it out of anyone, would be the Falcons. But I'm excited to see how it all unfolds.
The Bucs, I mean, so many things about the Bucs. You're loving the Fitz look, by the way, aren't you?
Oh, Fitz magic. Honestly, that just like made my weekend. And look, he's fantastic. He's a great character. You
got to up your press conference game, I think, after that.
I don't think anyone can keep up with that, though. It's pretty impressive.
We're trying to work out a power ranking of where Fitz is compared to Cam Newton in terms of press conference dressing.
Yeah. Well, he's up there. He's
straight in top 3, yeah, with that.
He's a different level, that's for sure.
Is that your outfit for the Bournemouth Christmas party sorted?
That's more like my Halloween costume.
Yeah. Oh, there are going to be so many people in Halloween dressed like Fitz all across America. So are the Bucs that team, do you think? Are they that team every year in the NFL? There's a team that nobody saw coming. Are the Bucs that team this year?
Listen, it's tough to argue at the moment. I think genuinely when you look at their threats with Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans, they're going to score some points. I think generally the defense is what worries me a little bit more than anything. Their cornerback situation, the secondary, I don't know if they're that strong. So I think as the season goes on, I see the Bucs coming back down to earth. But at the same time, once confidence is flowing and if they can stay healthy, like any team, that's the thing as the season progresses, who can stay the healthiest. That'll play a big factor. So why wouldn't it be the Bucs? I don't know. My dark horse, and it's kind of proved me wrong after the first couple of weeks, was the Giants.
Oh, me too, man. Me too. Yeah, we were chatting. Archie, part of our crew, was saying every year we pick the Giants as a dark horse, and they always let us down.
I know. So I thought they had a really good off season and were looking good, but then they'll probably regret not drafting someone like a Sam Darnold. So I think that's going to be interesting. But
to be fair to Eli, he's getting no protection at all, though. I mean,
So, but it's a combination of those things.
There's still time. There's still time. On the Fitzpatrick thing, it's interesting, and seeing as we're plugging, my column in the Times last week was about Fitz and specifically, I guess, about backups, because the backup quarterback is it's a strange gig in the whole of sports in that. But you must have, I guess, some sympathy and some, empathy with it because your time at Chelsea, and I guess that was quite unique because you are, and here I'm going to big you up now, but you're one of the top keepers in the world. So the situation of you being a backup at a club is unorthodox, but nevertheless, you were in the same situation where you suddenly get thrown in a game, either in the middle of a game or you're told quite early, quite late in the day, you're going to be playing in a game, and you got to get yourself mentally ready for that in a split second. That must be a difficult thing to get used to doing.
No, absolutely. I think generally the backup role is such a difficult one to fill. Generally teams tend to rely on experience when they have guys in that position. Someone who, like I had to. You have to swallow your ego and pride sometimes and just do what's best for the team and sacrifice yourself and play a different sort of role in the locker room. So it's a very difficult position to fill. I mean, I like the way that Tampa Bay has done it with Fitzpatrick, someone who's a veteran, someone who understands his role, who's I'm sure a great person to have around the team on a daily basis and can do the job when required. Nick Foles is a prime example in Philadelphia. So I think these guys are very difficult to come by, but at the same time, if you can get one, you hold on to it and go with them.
You talked about the camaraderie as well, though, which is really evident. And a lot of the time, I think it's underestimated how much a backup quarterback, and we see them on the sidelines, and we see them talking to the starter, showing them film. It's all done on tablets these days, of course, but being right there, talking them through, telling them what they've seen. And there's a real brotherhood going on, isn't there? Just like with keepers.
Yeah, I think the quarterback room is a similar type of thing to the goalkeepers union. The goalkeepers room, where we're a very tight group, probably slightly separated from the rest of the team, and I think we can relate to that a lot. And some of the guys that are in that room, you watch the Hard Knocks, the All or Nothings shows. Those guys are very, very impressive. I know one guy that people rave about is Josh McCown at the Jets. He seems to be a coach on the sideline. So, if you're number one or a starting quarterback and you have someone like that supporting you and going through the process with you, then I think it's very helpful.
What about kickers? A similar kind of thing, but fundamentally different, because keepers are often the best athlete on the team, right? Kickers aren't. They're denigrated because they're just different to everyone else on the roster, right? Physically, and they train completely separately. It's a tough life being a kicker, but the parallels, I guess, with a keeper are quite obvious. You're all eyes on you the whole time, and the moment you make a mistake, you're the fall guy, which is not true with many other positions in the NFL, and same with football, right?
No, same in football, same with goalkeeping. You're generally remembered for the mistakes, not the good things you've done. That's very much for the kicker. If a kicker goes 5 for 6, no one's going to think about the 5 he made. Everyone's going to remember the 1 he missed, and especially if it comes in a high-profile situation, as obviously we had this week. You feel a lot of sympathy for those kickers and what's happened to them, but it's a tough job. A lot of pressure on it. You have really no room for error, and when it happens, it's a ruthless business. At
least if you make a mistake, it's unlikely you're going to get kicked off the team. The NFL is just ruthless, isn't it? Kickers just hardly have any chance to talk. You must have thought about it a bit, and you played basketball when you were younger, didn't you? So you kind of weighing up basketball at one stage. Looking now at the NFL and how many players from different disciplines, rugby, are moving over there. Have you thought maybe 4 or 5 more years in the Premier League and then couple of years in Florida?
Well, hey, why not? If the gig's there, I'll certainly practice.
Would you do it? Would you do it?
Yeah, I'm open to it. You never know. I mean, was it Josh Lambo who used to be a goalkeeper?
Yeah.
And then he went into kicking in the NFL. So I don't know. Why not? I always saw myself more of as a tight end. So quarterback protect him, and
a lot of ex-basketball players are, right. They transition to that. So
I would play be a tight end or maybe even a quarterback. I've got a pretty decent arm.
I love that. Rolling into the NFL at 35, having never played quarterback before.
But I'll take a minimum contract to be a kicker. Why not at 36 or 37?
Oh, that'd be awesome, man. I'm serious. We should think about that. One of the other big stories from the weekend that I want to get your take on, Vontae Davis, which was extraordinary, really. And I guess more will come out about it. But as a player, as an athlete, because there are two sides to this, he said in his statement, I knew the time was now. I trust my judgment. I need to walk away. But the fact he did it in the middle of the game, I mean, all his teammates are really, really, well, I can't say all, but some of them clearly are really disappointed with the fact he chose to do it in the middle of a game. Looking on as a pro athlete, what did you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's difficult to comment when you don't know the ins and outs, but it's just obviously for a lot of people from the outside looking in, it was very, very bizarre. I couldn't believe it when it came out. I mean, how that sort of worked out. Normally you think, okay, well, I'll just finish the game and call it a day after the game, but very bizarre. And that's what happens. I think obviously they've had a tough start, the Bills, and maybe everything played into a role, and he just couldn't do it anymore. What do you think? I mean, what's your opinion on that sort of a subject?
I'm with you in that I need to hear more about it. I think if he ends up on another team, then that would be shady. But I suppose it's the fact he did it in the middle of a game, and I can't work it out. And I suppose only an athlete can really explain what that feels like, because I think if he, at the end of the road for him, and enough's enough, like I completely respect that in a game as dangerous as the NFL, and he's given so much to it. And I guess we forget, or it's easy to forget, that he's going way back to, when he was a kid, when he was 7, he's been playing it his whole life. So you can't underestimate how hard it must be to walk away from that. And you respect him for that. But I suppose doing that in the middle of a game, I can't make my mind up. I can't make my mind up. I think, well, respect, because he knows he can't go back in there and he might let his team down even more. But at the same time, in the middle of a game, obviously, it's quite a stark and poignant time to throw it in.
Yeah, like I said, it's just very, very bizarre. And until you really know what's going on in Vontae Davis' nobody's going to ever, really going to be able to comment on sort of that sort of a subject, and difficult one. I really don't know what to say. It's unfortunate, and just been a tough start all around for the Bills, it looks like.
How's the foundation going, the Asmir Begovic Foundation? What's going on with that?
Really good, Nat. Thank you. We've got our 5th birthday in a couple months, so we've been running for 5 years. And,
fair play.
We're getting stronger. We've got our annual fundraiser again next year, our golf day in the spring. We're looking forward to that. And, a couple big, hopefully big projects to build in Bosnia and obviously here in the UK as well. So, everything's going really well. Good
to hear, man. Good to hear. Well, listeners should get involved with that. What's the website for that if they want to, or social media?
Yeah, just AsmirBegovicFoundation.com.
Yeah.
So you can look up all our projects and what we're all about. So any support like that, goes a long way, and we appreciate it all.
It is a great foundation. Anything we can do to help you, let us know. Always holler on that one. If there's a golf day, get Belichick or Parcells. Or Pioli. Brady will be there. He'll be there. He'll have plenty of time on his hands when he retires after the Dolphins knock him out in the playoffs. And the podcast, of course, one more time. Season of Sports.
Season of Sports, just catch it, obviously, where we get podcasts from, and we have some fun with it. You've been on it, you've been a great guest of ours, so we have a lot of fun with it, and
it's a great show. Yeah, loving that. Are you going to make it to Wembley? You're going to have? Does the schedule work so you can?
At the moment, I am planning on coming to the Eagles game.
Oh, great, good.
I think one is an international break, which is very.
First one is yeah.
No, that wasn't very kind from the schedule makers.
All right.
And then maybe I'll catch the third as well, but I'm not 100% sure yet.
Brilliant. Well, we'll be there so holler at the Eagles game for sure. Come and see me, and thanks so much for dropping by today, man. Always a pleasure.
No, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Take care, man.